They thought they'd won when he left me for her. But when I showed up at their wedding with a gift box, their smiles disappeared real quick. See, revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's wrapped in pretty paper with a bow. And honey, mine was about to explode. Before I tell you how I destroyed my cheating ex and his new bride, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail of this story. And stick around till the end because the twist will blow your mind. My name is Destiny, though I'm changing it for obvious reasons. 8 years ago, I married the man I thought was my soulmate. Michael was everything I dreamed of. Tall, handsome, successful lawyer with this smile that could light up a room. We had this beautiful house in the suburbs. Talked about having kids. Planned our future together. I thought we were happy. I thought we were solid. But you know what they say about thinking, right? It started small. Phone calls he'd take in the other room. Working late more often. Coming home smelling like different perfume. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid, that marriage goes through phases. Michael would kiss my forehead and tell me I was imagining things when I asked questions. Looking back, I realize he was already checked out, already planning his exit strategy. The night I found that earring changed everything. It was sitting right there on my nightstand, silver with a little diamond, not mine. I stood there holding it, feeling my whole world crumble. When I confronted Michael, he didn't even try to deny it anymore. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "Her name is Angela. I love her. I want a divorce." Just like that, 8 years gone. Angela worked at his law firm. 26 years old, fresh out of law school with long blonde hair and legs for days. Everything I wasn't. Michael moved out that same week. And suddenly, I was living in our house alone, surrounded by memories of a life that turned out to be a lie. The divorce was brutal. Michael tried to take everything. The house, our savings, even my car. His lawyer, probably coached by Angela, painted me as some unstable wife who couldn't accept reality. Meanwhile, Michael and Angela were posting pictures all over social media, living their best life while I was fighting just to keep a roof over my head. I ended up in a tiny one-bedroom apartment across town. Most of our friends chose sides. And guess what? They chose the successful lawyer and his pretty young girlfriend over the bitter ex-wife. I was completely alone, working double shifts at my job just to pay rent. Watching these two people who destroyed my life get to be happy. 6 months after our divorce was finalized, I saw the announcement on Facebook. Michael and Angela were engaged. The comments were full of congratulations from people who used to be my friends. So happy for you both. You two are perfect together. Finally found your soulmate. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. But then I saw something that made me stop. Angela had created a wedding registry. And like the nosy ex-wife I was, I clicked on it. They'd registered for all these expensive things. Kitchen appliances, home decor, fancy linens, the same kind of stuff Michael and I had registered for when we got married. That's when I remembered something. A phone conversation I'd overheard about a year before everything fell apart. Angela had been talking to someone, crying, saying something about how no one could ever know about what happened in Vegas and how it would ruin everything if Michael found out. At the time, I figured it was just girl drama. Now, I started wondering what exactly Angela was hiding. So, I did what any woman scorned would do in 2024. I started digging. Social media is a beautiful thing when you know how to use it. I created fake profiles. Started following Angela's family and friends from back home. Her sister posted throwback pictures all the time. Her college roommate loved sharing memories. Her mother posted everything, including stuff Angela probably wished she wouldn't. And that's how I found it. A picture from 3 years ago posted by Angela's college friend with the caption, "Congrats to Angela on her Vegas wedding." So spontaneous. There was Angela in a white dress standing next to some guy I'd never seen before, holding up marriage certificates and laughing. Angela was already married, had been for 3 years. My heart started racing as I screenshotted everything. This meant her relationship with Michael started while she was married to someone else. It meant she'd been lying to him from day one. And if she was still legally married to this other guy, then her upcoming wedding to Michael wouldn't even be legal. But I needed more than just pictures. I needed proof. I spent the next 2 weeks becoming a detective. Found out the guy's name was Tony. Tracked down their marriage certificate through public records in Nevada. Angela had married him in Vegas during a weekend trip, and as far as I could tell, they'd never filed for divorce. Then I found Angela's financial records. Well, not exactly found. Let's say I had help from someone who had access to the firm's employee files. Turns out Angela was drowning in debt, credit cards maxed out, student loans in default, and collection agencies looking for her. She'd been using different addresses to avoid them, which is probably why Tony couldn't find her to serve divorce papers. Michael had no idea he was about to marry a woman who was already married and basically broke, a woman who'd been playing him from the beginning. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday in June at this fancy venue downtown. I'd driven past it a few times, just to torture myself, I guess. 3 weeks before the big day, I went shopping. Not for a dress or shoes, but for the perfect wedding gift. I chose something beautiful from their registry. A crystal picture frame set, expensive enough to seem generous, personal enough to seem thoughtful. Then I went to work on the real gift. I printed out everything. The Vegas wedding photos, the marriage certificate, the collection notices, screenshots of all her lies on social media. I put it all in a manila envelope and slipped it inside the gift box right underneath the tissue paper. Then I wrote a note. Every bride deserves the truth on her wedding day. Congratulations on your new beginning from someone who cares about honesty. The morning of the wedding, I got dressed in my best outfit. Did my hair, put on makeup, made sure I looked absolutely stunning. If I was going to watch my ex-husband's world explode, I was going to look good doing it. I arrived at the venue during cocktail hour. The place was gorgeous. White flowers everywhere, string lights, all very romantic. I spotted Michael immediately looking handsome in his tuxedo, laughing with his groomsmen. Angela looked beautiful in her white dress, accepting congratulations and showing off her ring. I walked right up to the gift table and placed my box among all the others. The woman managing the gifts smiled at me and said, "How lovely. Are you family?" "Something like that," I replied. I found a seat in the back behind people I didn't know and watched the ceremony. Michael looked so happy when Angela walked down the aisle. He had tears in his eyes when they said their vows. For a moment, I almost felt bad for what I was about to do. Almost after the ceremony, everyone moved to the reception area for dinner and dancing. I watched Angela work the room, playing the perfect bride, accepting hugs and well wishes. She looked so confident, so sure that she'd won. They decided to open gifts during dinner, which was perfect timing. I watched from my table as Angela opened box after box, thanking people graciously for toasters and vases and kitchen gadgets. Michael was sitting next to her, arm around her shoulders, looking like the luckiest man alive. Then she got to my gift. I watched her face as she lifted the tissue paper and saw the envelope. Her smile faltered just a little. She opened it casually, probably expecting a card or something sweet. But when she saw what was inside, her face went completely white. I watched her quickly shove the papers back in the envelope and look around frantically. Michael was talking to someone at the next table, not paying attention. Angela excused herself and rushed toward the bathroom, clutching the envelope. But she wasn't fast enough. She dropped some of the papers and Michael's brother picked them up to hand back to her. I saw his face change as he looked at what was in his hand. He tapped Michael on the shoulder and showed him the papers. The look on Michael's face was everything I'd hoped for and more. Confusion, then recognition, then pure rage. He stood up so fast his chair fell over. Angela was halfway to the bathroom when he called her name across the entire reception hall. "Angela, get back here now." The music was still playing, but conversation started dying down as people sensed drama. Angela walked back slowly, her face pale, her hands shaking. "What is this?" Michael held up the marriage certificate from Vegas. His voice was loud enough that nearby tables could hear. Michael, I can explain. You're married. You've been married this whole time. He was getting louder. Angela looked around at all the people staring and started crying. It's not what you think. Tony and we got married as a joke in Vegas. We were drunk. It didn't mean anything. I've been trying to get divorced. But what? You've had 3 years. Michael was shouting now. People were definitely staring. Our marriage isn't even legal. You made me a bigamist. That's when Angela's mother stood up and marched over. What's all this noise about? Michael shoved the papers at her. Your daughter is already married. Has been for 3 years. Did you know about this? Angela's mother looked at the marriage certificate and her face went white, too. Angela Marie, what have you done? It's not my fault. Angela was full-on sobbing now. I tried to find Tony to get divorced, but he moved and I couldn't track him down. And then I met Michael and I fell in love and I thought I could figure it out later. You thought you could figure it out? Michael's face was red with anger. You've been lying to me for 2 years about everything. That's when someone else stood up. Michael's law partner who happened to be at the wedding. Michael, if Angela is still legally married to someone else, you could face serious legal consequences. This could affect your career. Your license to practice law. The whole reception had gone quiet now. Even the band stopped playing. Everyone was watching this beautiful wedding turn into a complete disaster. Angela was begging Michael to listen, to understand, but he was done. He pulled off his wedding ring and threw it on the floor. We're done. Whatever this was, it's over. He started walking toward the exit. And that's when Angela lost it completely. She started screaming about how she loved him, how they could fix this, how it was all just a big misunderstanding. Her bridesmaids were trying to calm her down, but she was hysterical. Michael's family started leaving, then Angela's family, then the guests. Within 30 minutes, the beautiful reception hall was nearly empty except for Angela sitting on the floor in her wedding dress crying while her mother and sister tried to figure out what to do next. I slipped out during the chaos, but not before I heard Angela's father on the phone with someone saying, "Yes, we need to cancel everything. The wedding, the honeymoon, all of it." The next few weeks were even better than I'd hoped. Word spread quickly through Michael's law firm about what had happened. Angela was fired. Of course, Michael had to deal with professional consequences, too. Since he'd unknowingly committed bigamy, the story made it to the local legal community gossip circles. But the real cherry on top came 2 months later. I was having coffee with Lisa, one of the few mutual friends who'd stayed neutral during the divorce, when she told me the rest of the story. "Girl, you won't believe what happened," Lisa said, leaning forward, conspirator ally. "Remember Tony, Angela's actual husband from Vegas? What about him? He saw all the wedding photos on social media. Angela's sister had posted everything before the wedding fell apart. Tony hired a lawyer and came after Angela for bigamy charges. Turns out he'd been looking for her, too, because she'd racked up debt in both their names and then disappeared." I nearly choked on my coffee. Are you serious? Dead serious. Angela's in real legal trouble now. And Michael, he's having to get lawyers involved just to prove he didn't know she was already married. His reputation is destroyed. As Lisa kept talking, I felt this warm satisfaction spreading through my chest. Not only had my plan worked perfectly, but the universe had added its own bonus revenge. But here's the thing nobody saw coming. The real twist that made everything even sweeter. Remember how I said I had help getting access to Angela's employee files? Well, it wasn't some random person at the firm. It was Michael's secretary, Dorothy, who'd worked there for 20 years and had watched me support Michael through law school, through his early career struggles, through everything. Dorothy had seen how Angela treated the support staff, how she acted like she was better than everyone, how she talked about me like I was some pathetic ex-wife who couldn't move on. Dorothy was the one who gave me access to the files. She was the one who told me about the wedding venue. She even helped me figure out the perfect timing for the gift opening. That girl needed to be taught a lesson. Dorothy told me later. And Michael needed to see who he really chose over you. 6 months after the wedding disaster, I ran into Michael at the grocery store. He looked terrible, like he'd aged 5 years and half a year. When he saw me, he actually walked over. "Destiny," he said quietly. "I owe you an apology." I looked at him. This man who'd broken my heart and tried to destroy my life. And you know what I felt? Nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no sadness, just nothing. "You don't owe me anything, Michael," I said. "We're even now." As I walked away, I realized something beautiful had happened. I wasn't the broken woman who'd found that earring on her nightstand anymore. I wasn't the victim who'd lost everything in a messy divorce. I was the woman who'd rebuilt her life, who'd stood up for herself, who'd made sure the truth came out. 3 months later, I started dating someone new, a good man who treats me like I deserve to be treated, who values honesty and loyalty, who makes me laugh every single day. We're taking it slow, building something real this time. Michael and Angela. Last I heard, Angela moved back home with her parents while dealing with her legal troubles. Michael is still trying to rebuild his reputation and his practice. They deserve each other, honestly. But they'll never get the chance to be together again. Sometimes people ask me if I feel bad about ruining their wedding. The truth is, I didn't ruin anything. I just made sure the truth came out. Angela ruined her own wedding the moment she decided to lie about being married. Michael ruined his own life when he chose to cheat and leave his wife for someone he barely knew. I just gave them a wedding gift they'd never forget. And you know what? It felt better than any revenge fantasy I'd ever imagined. Because at the end of the day, I didn't have to destroy anyone. They destroyed themselves. I just helped the truth along a little bit. That's the thing about karma. Sometimes it needs a helping hand. And honey, I was more than happy to lend mine. And that's how I turned their dream wedding into their worst nightmare. Sometimes karma needs a little help. And honey, I was happy to lend a hand. If this story taught you anything, it's that cheaters never win in the end. Smash that like button if you think they got what they deserved, and subscribe for more stories of sweet, sweet revenge. Drop a comment and tell me what would you have done. See you in the next.